You know, you walk into Gracie Torrance or you walk into 10 Planet HQ or you walk into Sarah Jiu Jitsu, you're getting three totally different structures, three totally different environments, and you have to at some point learn how to adjust on the fly to what you're getting. I used to play guitar in a punk band, so I used to think like if you're growing up and you're a punk, you don't listen to anything but punk. And now you realize that like the greatest musicians, they're listening to like my brother, he plays for a band Agnostic Front. He listens to Yanni. He doesn't just listen to Pantera, you know what I mean? Because they love music, you know what I mean? But even though you love jujitsu, it doesn't not necessarily mean you're structured enough to go with the flow. And I always wonder, being that you come from a musical background and
Mhm.
musicians tend to have to be able to flow with what they're given and be able to embrace a little bit of that creativity, but still stay within the scales for the most part. Has that
Right.
background of music helped you with really entering and flowing with the different styles and teachings of jiu-jitsu?
Absolutely. And I can give you a very specific example. You think about music, or you think about art. I have a friend who does portraits, and he went to college for it, and I was very amazed at how he drew the portraits. It's all on a grid. You ever see those like the graph paper that has like 0 0 coordinate, 1 1 coordinate, 2 2
Yeah,
coordinate, like the crisscross tic tac toe pages.
yeah.
That's basically how he draws his drawings. And he's like, once you understand that all faces, all paintings, all portraits are all on a grid, then things become divisible, whatever. They become like easy to sort of put in their place, right? Music is the same thing. Music is all based on a grid. It's all based on sound is a function of time, right? Rhythm is a function of beats per minute. It's on the x-axis. You got beats and then per minute, right? And even when you're playing jazz improvisation, I've done music my whole life, and let's say there's a little mess up in the song, you got to keep the grid going. The grid is not going to reset. Like you're in 4/4 time, 120 beats per minute, and it's still going. You missed a note. You better catch up on that next beat, right? Like, you can't allow yourself to, okay, we're going to stop the song and just reset. It's not how like jujitsu works too. I mean, jujitsu, if you think about it, every human, and I don't want to point to exceptions, but we have a couple arms, we have a couple legs, and we have a head, right? Like we have a torso. We have hips. I mean, there's exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, humans are a grid. Humans operate a certain way. The way that the Americana works, external rotation of the arm, or the Kimura, internal rotation, or how the head is supposed to flex one way or another, just the whole field of biomechanics is the study of movement of the human body, the mechanics of the biology, right? Like, how are we supposed to move in a plane of motion? And then what is abnormal, right? And the idea with jujitsu, it's like, let's go exploit those normal, ranges of motion, take it beyond what we know its capability to be. Of course, every human has different levels of flexibility, right? But and then chiropractic and just, physical care, like physical therapy in itself, is restoring that range of motion, is restoring the proper, biomechanics of the human body. So certainly, like, in terms of understanding that, maybe not directly, because like we talk about music, it's more sound. When we talk about jujitsu, it's much more, physical touch. But just the idea that everything's on a grid, that everything is sort of organized. So when you go to Matt Serra School or 10th Planet School, Gracie School, like, it doesn't matter. Even if they don't speak English, like you could go to Brazil and then they're going to be teaching Portuguese. Maybe you don't speak Portuguese. You can see how they affect the posture with the grip. You can see where the arm is going to be based off their where they're being taken to, right? Like you can understand the human body works in certain fashions, and even if it's not in your language, you're hearing the English words, you can make do, and based off your understanding of, well, like, I mean, as a musician, if I hear music, if I hear songs, I can kind of break it down in my head just off the structure, off like, okay, here's the bass part, the melody, the harmony, and here's the beat that they're kind of keeping, and I can kind of like draw out the skeleton for you. And I would like to think a black belt in jiu-jitsu could kind of do that. Like if you were watching a jiu-jitsu match and there was no one commentating and you were just watching it done, you could see how, oh, he's moving this way, and then that's going to create a limitation that way. And I just feel like, here's my example, right? There's a difference between being like a good guy at a sport, like let's say you're a good hockey player, versus saying you're a good athlete. A good athlete, I feel it's a universal concept. Like a 40-yard dash, you could apply that in a lot of, like, that's an athletic trait, how high you can jump, maybe how fast you can skate, maybe your hand skills, maybe your cardio. These are all baseline athletic attributes, right? They obviously apply in any athletic endeavor, of course, jiu-jitsu. I like to say the same thing as a musician. Like, if you can understand harmony and melody in your music theory, what can you transfer from not just piano, but you can apply that to guitar, you could apply that to drums, you could apply that to trumpet. I picked up trumpet just for fun over COVID, and my brain was sort of breaking down the intervals, like at a faster rate than I would think normal, like as far as with the fingering of the trumpet. Of course, the mechanics of the instrument, I'm learning how to use my like lungs and stuff, but I'm like, okay, I can kind of see how the instrument works just little baseline tutorial on it and starting to create my own, like, okay, I see how I would play that, how I would play that, but then I got to get good at the instrument. So, I mean, certainly, just that organization, that grid-like pattern thought of music has, I've really thought about this a lot, right? Like, music has definitely played a role in terms of how I like to organize my thoughts in jiu-jitsu too, right? Like, every human is kind of created the same, with minimal exceptions, let's just say, and then you can, act accordingly. It's like, what's the most pressing issue right here? It's like, oh, his head, his posture. You got to take care of his posture. Oh, he's got your head. You got to free your head.